Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr.J. Sharmila Devi, Assistant Professor of English, Sri Sharada College for Women, Autonomous, Salem 16. Today, I am going to take The Philosophy of Composition. It was written by Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe, who was an American author. He is a poet, editor, and literary critic. He is best known for his short stories and poems. His imagination towards the modern detective story was somewhat excellent. He is best known for his gothic, horror, mystery tales, and psychological dramas. His famous works are To Helen, The Annabel Lee, The Raven, The Telltale Heart. Telltale Heart is one of the famous detective short story. Let's see the philosophy of composition. The philosophy of composition first appeared in Graham's magazine in 1846. The essay describes the process of writing a poem and short stories. Poe, who explains that future writers need to understand the writing techniques well. Here, in this essay, he was particular about the writing style of a writer, how they use the technique, everything he discussed in this essay. It completely gives an idea or a suggestion or a key point to the writers, those who want to begin their writing. So he take his own poem, The Raven, as an example. The Raven is one of the famous poem written by him. It describes the death of a beautiful woman and a person who was longing for his lady love. So he take this topic and explains the techniques through the poem. Begins his essay by acknowledging the importance of having the end point. He refers to a letter he received from Charles Dickens, in which Dickens noted that William Godwin wrote his novel Cable Williams backward. This novel contains three volumes. In the first volume, he took to introduce the protagonist. So, here Poe suggests his novel with some idea of what the end of the novel would be. Then only the work get more successful. So he says every work must be known by their end. The author, those who want to write or are beginning to write a work, he must think of the outcome or the end of the plot. Then only it gives the correct connection between the incidents and the effect, tone, everything. So in the poem The Raven, he implements the same method which makes the poem effective and successful one. Poe suggests three elements of writing to the writers. The first one is length choice, second one is effects conveyed, and the third one is writing style or techniques. Let's see the first element, length. He talks about the length of a literary works. He says there must be a certain limit of every writing. He took Paradise Lost as an example. It is a prose, it is totally a succession of poetical excitements. So he considered it is a extremeness of its length. Then again he took Robinson Crusoe. Its limit may be overpassed. The poem must be within the limit. The extent of the poem may get the support of other elements to get its uniqueness or success. In other words, excitement. So it's clear that the quick or a short thing only get the intended effect. So in any literary work, it should not be overly long. He suggests the writer should write within a limit because the readers must complete their reading within one sitting. Then only the effect of reading will reach to the reader to the same extent as the writer. He says the novels do not have the same goal, it's for poems and short stories. Poe decides to make the poem Raven around 100 lines, but it the fact he wrote 108 lines. So he decided to make a certain length in his poem consciously. The next thing is method. Poe gave more importance to methods in his writings. He says writers try to hide their writing method from the readers. Poe outlined his methodological approach to constructing the narratives of the poem. He emphasized the importance of creating tension and suspense to keep the readers engaged. Create the interest of the reader in reading the work by through the choice of the character, the place, effects, words, sound, etc. He uses reference, the birds, monotone, artistic effects, etc. These all create curiosity while reading the poem Raven. So these kind of methods used in his writing. The next thing is unity of effect. Beauty is a sole legitimate province of the poem. Poetry can embrace the both truth and passion. He believes that a poem intended unity of effect should dictate how long it should be, with longer poems requiring more complexities to remain coherent. He expresses that the poem's length should be maintained by the unity of effect. It seeks to achieve with longer poems requiring more complexities to maintain unity. In the essay, Poe emphasized the importance of the unity of effect, arguing that every element of the poem should contribute to its overall emotional impacts on the readers. He outlines his theory that a poem should be designed with a specific effect in mind, and each choice made in its composition should enhance that effect. When he talks about the tone, one of the sadness, melancholy is thus the most legitimate of poetical tones, while he composed according to the tone, that is, length, effect, everything. So he used everything for the tone he chose. He chose a refrain, bird, like raven, the tone of a non-human speaker. Repeat these line, everything. In Raven, he aimed to evoke a sense of melancholy and despair. He carefully selected each element of the poem from the setting to choice of the word to strengthen the same tone. By using this particular emotion or impression in the readers to focus on the theme of the death and the supernatural to create a sense of melancholy and unease. Poe's tone is somewhat didactic as he lays out his principles of composition, offering insight into his own creative process and offering guidance to aspiring poets. So, so by using these tone, he maintains the originality throughout the poem. The next thing he used in his poem is refrain. Refrain, the repetition of a word or a phrase. In his poetry, he repeats a single word as a referent. Sonorous, it should be appeared to relate the concept of sound. In this poem, sound plays a crucial role. Especially the raven's stutter sound, everything. He carefully crafted the poem's rhythm and meter to enhance the atmosphere. And also, he contributes the auditory experience of reading or hearing the poem. So, the word he chose for the refrain, the sound, everything uh, was excellent, and also he include the techniques, how the effects totally conveyed to the readers, or the person, those who read the poem will will get the complete effect of the uh, situation. So it's clearly depicted by the poet by using these kind of techniques. He used the word nevermore as a referent in this poem, the word which Raven spoke as the equal of parrot. The situation he keeps because of the raven speaks a word nevermore in the poem. He repeats the same word all the time. It was an amazing technique he used in the poem. The repetition of the same word is totally a different thought. It was applied by him in his poem, and that word also like a bird which answers a person's queries. These all a totally a different thought. It's one of the best thing in the poem. So he gave more importance to his work, so the upcoming writers must write their work with very much dedication. He also expects the writers should contribute the soulful art to the readers. By using these kind of techniques, he maintained his originality in his writing. A original writer reads deep and wide and then rejects whatever ideas do not fit his approach, and by such a process he arrives at a new way of approaching his work. The Raven. Poe acknowledges that the individual details of the poem's rhythm, meter are not in themselves new, but he has put them together in a new way. The rest of the philosophy of composition is devoted to showing how Poe then brings these elements together so that they appear natural but also possess a rich symbolisms. The end point is that raven comes to signify the young man's remembrance of the deceased lover Lenore. So he state the writers who want to create his work must think about these kind of things before start writing. Finally, conclude the philosophy of composition is a thought-provoking essay. It's provide insight into Poe's art of writing the poem. The philosophy of composition provides valuable insights into Poe's creative process and his belief about the principles of effective storytelling. Thank you. And here there are a few MCQs to remember the topic. The philosophy of composition first appeared in Graham's magazine in 1846. Three essential theories regarding composing literature that Edgar Allan Poe discussed in the philosophy of composition are length, effect conveyed, writing techniques. Poe suggests that a poem's length should be such that it can be read in one sitting. Poe suggests that the death of the beautiful woman is the most poetic subject because it allows for all the above. The rest two MCQs are answered by the viewers, and also you can view these for your further references or clarifications.